Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph. In today's video, we're looking at a unique lighting setup that I tried not too long ago and talk about the issues that I came across and how I will actually solve those issues if I'm supposed to try this lighting setup again. I'm seeing a lot of people are posting videos about it where you have this light from the top coming down towards your subject, and I quickly discovered that you have to be very precise with your positioning, which we're going to get to a little bit later. But I also quickly discovered that if you use a small modifier for a lighting setup like this, trust me, you are really going to struggle if you have to try and use that as your only light source to create a beautiful light. So on my screen right now, right, you'll see that we have, this is a BTS clip that I just exported for you guys so I can draw around to show you what I mean. So immediately you look at this image, you'd see that we do have a very big modifier on top of our subject, and it's, throwing all the light down. And we typically stay away from lighting like this because it creates raccoon eyes. And by raccoon eyes, we mean if you have like deep eye sockets, it's going to cast like a deep dramatic shadow in your eyes. Obviously your nose is protruding a little bit, but it's going to cast a shadow onto the top of your lip, and your lip is also going to cast a shadow onto your chin, and anything that stands out in front of you is going to be casting a shadow down. So if you want that dramatic feel, then by all means you can keep this lighting setup. But if you want to still use this lighting setup and beautify it in a certain way, then there are a few tips and tricks that I feel you can use to enhance or elevate this lighting setup. All right, so in the beginning, let me actually just show you some of the images. So this is an image that I got, just using this top-down light with no reflector. We'll talk about the reflector a little bit later. And if I zoom in a little bit, you'd see that, yes, we do have, her eyes casting shadows down on top of her cheek over here. Let me actually draw on that so that we can see. So you'd see that we do have some shadows, some deep shadows over here under her eye as well. And we have this deep dark shadow under her nose, same thing under her lips and her neck. Her chin is creating, or her jaw is creating the shadow on her neck. And then when you come down, I think it's a little bit more flattering on the dress because it makes the texture of the dress and the folds really show up. But if you come down a little bit, you can see that her legs are even getting a little bit darker. And typically, if you want to create an image that is flattering, you always want to try and control where your shadows are falling, because that is very, very key. If you want to create an image that pops, here, for example, if I go back to this BTS, normally if I am, creating my beauty shots, what I will do, or when I'm creating portraits for people, I would always have an octa box right here, aimed 45 degrees at my subject, on a stand like that, and then that is going to be throwing light down. But unlike what we have currently with this modifier, right, you have all of this illuminating light, and then it's throwing the light down onto your subject. And again, this is what is going to create that raccoon eyes. If we come back onto this image, let me hide this briefly, and like I said, you can see that we do have a little bit of shadows falling down, and it's not really flattering her in this case. But if I go to the next image, what we tried to do was improve this already existing light. And what I asked her to do was lift her face towards the light. Doing this just makes the light hit a broader part of her face, reducing those shadows and making it look a little bit more flattering. But the best thing that you can do in a situation like this, I feel, is to add in a reflector. Now, what a reflector does, aside from lifting up the shadows, is also, if I zoom into her eyes, you can see that we do have some catch lights in her eyes. If I go back to the very first shot where there was no reflector and it was just a top-down light, you can see that her eyes look dead, it doesn't look alive, and this doesn't flatter anybody. Catch lights are very important when it comes to portraits, and so as much as possible, if you want to make sure that your lights are flattering, especially your main lights, which is coming in from top down, always try and see a little bit of it. So if I go on to this next image, actually, let me still stick on this one. If I go back onto this image right here, you can see that we do have some catch lights from the top light and the bottom, and that is making her look a little bit more alive. So maybe in post, when I'm editing, what I can actually even do is enhance this a little bit further. Obviously, I'm not going to take my time to do it right now because this is just a demo for you guys to see, but I can quickly just increase, the illumination of that in her eyes. And when I zoom back out, maybe reduce opacity a little bit, you can see that immediately she looks more alive. So if you want to do something like this, what I will recommend is try and position in such a way that you will see some catch lights in your subject's eyes. Now, back to positioning. Let me hide this briefly. You also do not want your model to be standing in the middle of the softbox, right? And what this means is that some of the light which is falling behind here is going to be lighting the back of hair, and some of it which is in front is also going to be lighting the front part of hair. But because she's in the middle and she's sandwiched between this spill light, it's not going to look flattering. So what I discovered was that if you really want to maximize the lighting and if you really want it to look flattering, then try and position your model at the back end of the modifier. So two things: use a really large modifier and also position your model at the back end of the modifier. One other thing that you can also do is add in a reflector so that all of this light which is falling in front of your model is going to hit this modifier or this reflector down here and then bounce back to reduce the shadow. So if I go back to the images again, you'll quickly see that we do have a better illumination, and it seems as if this was almost front lit. If I go back again to one of the original shots, you see that the dress is a little bit dramatic. She has deeper shadows underneath, but over here everything looks soft. The dress looks a little bit more lit up, and we don't have as dark shadows as we had in the beginning. So these are a few things that I wanted to draw your attention to when you're doing something like this. So what you notice is in the back here, I do have another light, which is the Nanlite Forza 60B, and that is throwing another light onto the side of her face. I always typically add an edge light just to add a bit of separation and increase the definition or depth in the shot. And you can see that this is really adding a bit more interest to the image. Over here, you can see that we do have the edge light, the separation, and that is making her pop off the background even more. Even though we do have some shadows falling on this part of her face and falling down, because it's not very defined and dark, this is rather flattering in this case. So these are a few things that I wanted to draw your attention to. And again, if I am going to tackle doing a lighting setup like this, what I will do is maintain the top light as my main light, add an edge light for separation, but I will still add another light source. It can be like a deep cone, it can be a small softbox, nothing too overwhelming. All I wanted to do is throw a little bit of light onto my subject's face, and this is going to help with the catch light and also add with the beautification of my model, because if you're shooting portraits, you want the people to look their best. And so this is what I will do if I'm supposed to tackle the situation again. So again, let me know how you feel about a tutorial like this. Let me know if you learned a thing or two in the comments down below. Leave a like and also subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Also remember to check out my digital store. I do have amazing products on there that will help you recharge faster. I also have a gift card if you want to give someone something on my store and don't know what to get them. Just get them the gift card and then they can come onto my website and purchase it. All right, that's it for today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and remember, don't ever give up.